a body of the CAF, the County Assemblies Forum. So to begin with, I am very, very glad to be here. So as I tinker with my technology here, I have a presentation, although I'll be reading it. This afternoon, I would like to talk about a number of issues, but first and foremost is to share what we do at the Office of the Controller of Budget. Now, I know not everyone read the Constitution all the time, but Article 228 of the Constitution talks about the Office of the Controller of Budget. It's an independent office whose primary role, it keeps disappearing. Okay, the primary role of the Office of the Controller of Budget under Articles 204, 206, and 207 is to authorize withdrawals from public funds, ensuring that the expenditures comply with legal provisions. Under this, there are certain key roles which I will highlight. The oversight role is the first one, and this includes the implementation of national and county governments' budgets, which involves the use, the monitoring and use of public funds and reporting to Parliament on the utilization of the funds. That we are very familiar. The second role is the controlling role, where the name comes from. And here, my office authorizes withdrawals from public funds, the first one being the consolidated fund, that is Article 206. The second one being the equalization fund, that is Article 204. And there is Article 207, which is the county revenue fund, and where the county assemblies fall. In authorizing these withdrawals, I must be satisfied that the withdrawals are in accordance with the law as stipulated in Article 2285 of the Constitution. The other role is the preparation of statutory reports. I'm sure many of you have seen the budget implementation review reports. In short, we call them the BIRs. These are the reports where we give a report card to either the national government or the county government on how they have performed on a quarterly basis. And at the end of the year, and that is quarter 4, the one ending June, we give an annual budget implementation report. Then we have the advisory role. This involves providing advice to Parliament and the county governments on financial matters, including where a cabinet secretary responsible for finance has stopped the transfer of funds to a state organ or a public entity. The other role is an investigation role. Here we conduct investigations through either our own initiative or following a complaint from a member of the public. You know, for instance, I've been receiving a lot of complaints over non-payment of pending bills, and this is where sometimes we have to investigate to find out why the payment has not been made. We also investigate cases where we receive intelligence, say from the counties, that a project that is supposed to be on the ground actually does not exist, or something else has happened. So as long as these matters relate to budget implementation, it is our role to investigate them. Then there is dispute resolution. We undertake alternative dispute resolution, namely reconciliation, we do mediation, and we do negotiation. This is usually to resolve conflicts and issues relating to budget implementation, either between national and county governments or between county governments on their own. Then we do public sensitization. And this includes disseminating information to both levels of government. Here we normally deal with Article 35 of the Constitution, which provides the right of access to information. So every so often, we receive requests either from the counties or national government to provide information which is with us as long as it relates to budget implementation. We also disseminate after reporting. We go out to the public and we disseminate issues that we have raised in our reports. Next to that is the monitoring role, and this involves monitoring, evaluating, and reporting, and making recommendations to the national and county governments on measures to improve budget implementation. And lastly, among the roles is to enforce budget ceilings. I know members of CAF are very familiar with this one. We enforce budgetary ceilings as set by legislation. You set the ceilings, or you help set them. And other institutions mandated to put in such limits. You also know that Parliament also sets limits, and it is the role of my office to enforce, to ensure that as the spending entities are spending, they still stay within the boundaries that have been set by those that set these limits. So having had the roles of my office, I want us to look more closely on how we can enhance budget oversight for effective service delivery. So what's the role of county governments in the whole process of budget oversight? We all know that we cannot have transparency, accountability, or use of public funds unless we have proper oversight. And what is the role of the county assemblies then? The county assemblies examine expenditure reports. They investigate financial mismanagement, and they hold the county executives to account. At least that's what the law says. That is you in this room. You hold the executives to account. Then at the national level, we have Parliament. They also review the audit reports, they review the budget implementation findings, and allocate funds through the budgets. Next to that, in providing oversight, is my office, the Office of the Controller of Budget. We ensure lawful withdrawals, monitoring fund utilization as earlier outlined. And further from my office still, we have the Office of the Auditor General, who will conduct audits to verify compliance with financial regulations. And that cuts across everyone. So what are some of the issues? What are those contemporary issues in oversight and accountability that we have come across while overseeing budget implementation? So under Article 2286, my office prepares implementation review reports, and these are the reports that highlight several issues that require implementation by the counties. My office also monitors and evaluates programs implemented by county governments, and we are aware that these reports are shared with county governments for action and the Senate for information and oversight. However, county assemblies have often delayed in tabling the budget implementation review reports from my office in their assemblies. The COB reports should be examined by the appropriate committees in the county assemblies, and further, the law requires that the accounting officers must report within 3 months on the actions that they have taken to implement recommendations made on the COB report as adopted by the county assembly in line with section 149(3) of the PFM Act. So what we are saying, ladies and gentlemen, is that if you don't lay the report before the House and assign it to a relevant committee so that it can be discussed, how then can you implement the recommendations that have been given in the report? That is the question we need to answer. We have had issues with the county established funds. Sometimes you may have read in the press about weak legislative framework for fund management. You have read of failure to submit financial statements, even to designate fund administrators. You have also heard of the use of unauthorized commercial banks, or even unbalanced fund budgets. These are some of the challenges that we come across. So we want to ask, how can the COB work with the county assemblies to right these wrongs? And there is more. There's non-compliance with program-based budgeting. As we went around the counties, we found out that there was poor alignment between the approved budgets and the implementation reports. We also saw omission of key programmatic information, such as human resource requirements. The counties are not planning for their human resource requirements. Is it any wonder then that we find that the wage bills are way above the statutory required levels. You know the other animal called accumulation of pending bills. And in the latest report, the December half-year report showed that there is over 180 billion shillings in pending bills at the county level. Although I have to commend the county assemblies because the proportion that is held by the county assemblies is actually very small out of that. I'll not mention how much it is. But suffice it to say that most of this is held by the county executives. And to be more precise, there is one county that holds 65.1% of the pending bills. So again, today is not the day to split that. How about the own source revenue, the so-called OSR? We again saw, as of the end of December, that the counties had achieved 72.8% of their revenue targets, impacting budget credibility and mainly relying on the Facility Improvement Fund. What do I mean? That out of the 72.8%, 79% of that was the Facility Improvement Fund. And so, we really need to ask ourselves, what is it that is right with the FIF, but is wrong with the ordinary revenue? And in case you are in doubt, please look at the December 31st, 2024 Budget Implementation Review Report. It's on the website, it's on the COB website. There is also inadequate automation of revenue collection, leading to underperformance. So these are areas where we need to pull up our socks. Next is the non-adherence to budget ceilings, and this should really concern you as CAF. Failure to comply with development expenditure requirements. We know that the ceiling for development expenditure is a minimum of 30%, not 30% allocation, but 30% spending. We need to spend 30% on development. In our report, 38 counties failed to meet the development expenditure threshold in financial year 23-24, with only 9 making the cut. We'll be assessing, of course, at the end of 24-25, because I believe as a result of my reports, there are those counties that have tried to pull up their socks, and we believe that by the end of the financial year, we'll be seeing something better than what we had last year. We have seen weak budgetary controls. In some instances, we have seen counties reporting expenditures that exceed 100%. How do you spend more than 100%? This would appear totally abnormal. But there is an implication. It does imply that we are eating the fruits of the tree. Do you know what that means? You can either harvest trees, you harvest the fruits from the trees, take them to the house, and serve them at the table, or you can pick the fruits straight off the tree and eat from there. That is what more than 100% means, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah? So there are those spending at source, revenue at source. We saw lack of internal controls, which again is related to the spending of revenue at source. And next, we have also seen non-adherence to COB circulars. As you are aware, every beginning of the year, I issue a circular regarding all requisitions, and I expect that to be followed. But all the time, we spend hours, literally, returning requisitions which have not followed the proper the guidelines, yeah, and asking for more information. And as a result, you'll always hear, oh, vitu zimekwama kwa COB. Ni kwa nini vitu zinakwama kwa COB? Vitu zinakwama because we don't do the right thing. And I've given instructions to the letter. If you are asking for salary, this is what I want. If you are asking for interest, this is what I want. But you always do the other thing. Yeah? That is why vitu zinakwama. But anyway, we'll come to that. Again, we saw settling of bills selectively, not following the FIFO. FIFO is one of those instructions that I've given in my circulars. But instead of following fast in, fast out, you pay the newest and you leave the oldest. Now, that one is called the LIFO. Last in, fast out. Yeah? That is one of the problems that we have been experiencing. So what must we do? Of course, the list is not exhaustive. But what must we do to strengthen collaboration for better oversight? If we agree that between yourselves and my office, we need to collaborate so that our oversight role achieves the intended objectives. So what do we need to do? Now, in September last year, my office conducted a sensitization retreat with the county assemblies, and although I did not attend myself, my deputy attended. And this was intended to enhance budget oversight. Some of the resolutions that were arrived at were to strengthen engagement between the COB, county assemblies, and the budget committees. It was also agreed that we ensure timely tabling and discussion of budget reports. Further, we talked about mandating accounting officers to submit implementation reports, and also tracking the recommendations adopted by the county assemblies, and lastly, using the prescribed government systems for procurement and payments, because we had identified where the problems come from. And so we need to work on these areas so that we have like what I call a joint effort at the oversight function. And given these resolutions, I want to commit that my office is committed to improving collaboration with the county assemblies through CAF. My office is developing an engagement framework that the County Assemblies Forum will be reviewing and will communicate. We expect that the approved engagement framework will be ready before the end of the current financial year. As I move to conclude, let's look at some of those challenges. We know that this is what we would like to do, and we all agree that that's what we need to do. But what are some of those things that are stopping us from achieving what we would like to do? And what we have identified is that political interference, whereby some MCAs will align with the governors, thereby compromising the oversight function. Nasikia makofi. We also have capacity constraints. And this is because of limited financial expertise among the MCAs that hinders budget analysis. We know that budgeting and the budget itself can be quite technical. So we really need to work on increasing our capacity both to prepare and to analyze and criticize the budgets. So we need to know what is required there. Then we have resource limitations. There is inadequate funding, which restricts oversight committees. True? Then we have weak enforcement, where county executives often ignore oversight recommendations. Kweli or wrong? Then the next one is a real cancer: corruption risks. We have misappropriation. We all know about it. Ghost projects, inflated contracts. Yeah? So with the best of intentions, if these corruption risks persist, we may not succeed in our oversight. Then lastly is spreading of resources. And sometimes, if the resources are spread too thin, the projects cannot benefit the citizens. And the example that I have here, I have been told many times, and we have seen that on the ground, that the MCAs will insist on starting new projects every financial year, or sometimes with every administration. So whatever was done by the previous MCA, no matter how good it is, you will abandon it and start your own. I have seen places where a nice building was put up. There is no furniture inside, not a single table, not a chair, so it cannot be used. All because it was put up by the previous MCA. Are we serious? We need to work on this. So, let's not spread ourselves too thin. So what is the conclusion, having said all that? We want, and I want to appreciate the importance of the county assemblies in ensuring fiscal accountability in devolved governance. So if we are to improve budget oversight, let us enhance capacity building. Let us train the MCAs on financial oversight. Let us implement the lessons learned from benchmarking. We are always going out to benchmark. Do we implement? And if we don't implement, what is stopping us from implementing those best practices that we learn out there? Let us strengthen the legal frameworks. This will help us implement clear penalties for non-compliance, as well as rewards for compliance. That is the one I did not add there. You do not only punish, be ready to reinforce best practice. So those who do well must be rewarded. Let us improve collaboration. This will be done by institutionalizing structured engagement, such as the one I have talked about between my office, and the county assemblies. Let us leverage technology. This implies automating financial management to reduce inefficiencies. And this is wide. There are many ways in which we can use technology to be more efficient. And lastly, about public participation. Let us increase public participation. Sometimes I have heard that we have specialists, and I know that the MCAs are the ones really who should whip at the ward level, isn't it? You know what is required by the citizens, but you would rather recommend something else because the contractor who will be doing it is somebody that you know. You know where I'm going? Yeah? So, can we do genuine public participation? Because if truly we are the people's representatives, then let's go out there and do the things that will benefit the people that we represent. Let us engage the citizens in the budget process for transparency. By addressing these challenges, ladies and gentlemen, we can uphold the principles of devolution, accountability, and public participation enshrined in Articles 174 and 201 of the Constitution. Thank you very much for listening.
Asante sana. I think we can do better than that, tafadhali. A round of applause. Moja, mbili, tatu. Asante sana. Dr. Nyakango, if I can indulge you and invite you to be a member of our panel today. If you agree, asante sana. Usiondoke kwenye stage. Just choose any seat from number 2, going that way. Asante sana. Makofi tena kwake daktari. Amekubali atakuwa member of our panel today. I know there's a lot of questions. When we open the floor, we will guide you accordingly, and then muweze kuuliza maswali mengi. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me now introduce members of our panel today for this plenum session. And I encourage all of you to pay attention, write down your questions, anything that is burning, so that we can collect all the questions as possible and answer them. Let me first invite Commissioner Koitamet Olekina, the Vice Chairman, Commission for Revenue Allocation. Karibu sana. Bwana Kina namkumbuka sana toka wakati huo wa CKRC kule Bomas of Kenya. Karibu sana. Nimkaribishe Bwana Kibiego Arkigen, EBS, OGW, Small Caps, NSC, and in brackets AU, is the Director, National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC. Karibu sana, Bwana Kigen. Let me also invite to the stage Professor Jack Muimali, the CEO and also Editor, National Council for Law Reporting, Kenya Law. Karibu sana. I wish to also invite the Honorable Douglas Mbilu, the Honorable Speaker of the County Assembly of Makueni. Karibu sana. Last but not least, let me invite CPA Michael Bidi Ngala, the Clerk, Kilifi County of Assembly. Asante sana. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a Kenyan politician. He belongs to a political party ambao sasa hivi siwezi kusema manake anaweza kuwa amebadilisha na sijui. Mambo yanaenda yakibadilika balika. He was elected to represent the Bura constituency in the National Assembly of Kenya. In 2007, represented the constituency until 2013, and he served in different parliamentary committees. In 2013, he contested again in Bura constituency, lakini mambo kidogo yakabadilika, and then he went ahead and became the Speaker of the first County Assembly of Tana River in March 2013 after the general election. Consequently, he became the first chairman of the Assemblies Forum of the County Assemblies in all 47 counties. Mpigieni makofi nataka nimkaribishe Daktari Nur Nasser Abdi. He will be the moderator this afternoon. Naomba mumpe nafasi aweze kujieleza, halafu atupe mpangilio wa utaratibu. Karibu sana daktari.
Thank you, Nimrod, and good afternoon. Habari ya mchana. Naona leo hakuna kukurukakara kama jana. So tunashukuru. Thank you our panelists, CPA Nyakaongo, and the rest of the panelists and honorable members of the assembly. I have been ably introduced. I don't need to go further. I am part of you. I have been part of you. Lakini kwa leo mimi sasa niko katikati. Ile wanasema ya kupita wapi? Watu wetu wa Machakos na Makueni ndio wanaelewa vizuri. So I will moderate this session. But before I do so, I just wanted to know how many chairs of budget committees at the county assemblies do we have in the House? Chairs of budget committees. I can see 1 there, 2, 3. Ama wengine wanajaza number. Okay, and 4 there. How many vice chairs of that very important committee do we have here? Vice chairs. Okay, a handful. How many members, including the chairs and the vice chairs of the budget committee, do we have in the House? Members. Okay. Aya. How many members of PAC committees do we have in the House? Chini. So how many of you serve in sectoral committees in the county assemblies? What you call the departmental committees? Hapo ndio bulk iko. Sawa. Asanteni sana. We have this engagement today. I don't want it to be name calling. We will engage in the best way we can with respect. When we have issues and questions, we can raise them in a tone that is moderated. And I know, having been members of county assembly, and you are now, you have what you call parliamentary language. So instead of saying someone stole money, you would say what? Yeah? He kept for the government. Thank you so much. So let's try to use the parliamentary language we can with our panelists or with anybody else you might want to refer to so that we are able to engage in the best way we can. We have the title that was ably delivered by CPA Nyakaongo Daktari, From Control to Collaboration, Rethinking Budget Oversight for Better Service Delivery. And you've heard the recommendations she's been able to give, and I was keenly following. So anywhere she mentioned things that would drop in the county assemblies in the wrong way, you keep quiet. And when she mentioned things that would lift you up, you clap. So I would take it that you have taken the criticism that she has offered from her side as well and noted them so that it helps us build that relationship that we have. I have mentioned those, that budget committee and the sectoral committees because of the work we know in the legislatures that they offer in budget. We have the PIC-PAC also, who do that oversight at the tail end. We have the controller of budget with the oversight function. We have CRA, who are supposed to moderate and even give advisories on management of public funds, both to the national government and the county government. We have our colleague from the Kenya Law Reports. How many of you have been able to visit that website? Kenya Law Reports. Or Kenya Law, vile inajulikana. Amoja enda huko. Naona moja wawili watatu. So again, he will explain the important role of trying to facilitate you in the better performance of the functions that you do, because that is where they have a repository of all the laws. They keep all the laws. If you wanted to refer and get a reference of any law that you would want to deal with, then you can find it in that. And then we have our two colleagues from the assemblies, the Speaker for Makueni and the Clerk of Kilifi. So, and you as audience, we want to engage in a manner that when we leave this room, better service delivery is what we are able to achieve through that collaborative mechanism. And I think let's understand it from that angle. We can lament, we can complain, but at the end of the day, if we don't give suggestions and recommendations in terms of how best we can move forward, the way CPA Nyakaongo has given, then we will be at the roundabout. Sasa tunataka kutoka kwa roundabout ama tunataka kubaki kwa roundabout? Tubaki kwa roundabout? Ama tutoke? Tutoke, sio? So that is what we will do. So I know you have delivered your questions. Just write them down. I don't know whether we'll have enough time. We are supposed to go up to 4:30. We are at 3:30, so we have like an hour to engage. And it's an afternoon session. I know you are tired, but we'll try to utilize that 1 hour in the best way we can. So I will ask a few questions to our panelists, and I will start with the CPA Nyakaongo, who has delivered her very articulately the presentation on the functions of the COB and how they play it with the various other players and given you recommendations. Dr. Nyakaongo, you have given at the tail end that you've been having a meeting in September, I think on 23rd, in Kenya School of Government with the executive people working in the finance department, that's the CFOs, and also the clerks of the county assemblies to represent the assemblies, to try and guide them on issues of releases, on issues of requisitions, and how best budget implementation can be done without much ado. September, so we've done like another 3-4 months. What improvements have you been able to see with your engagement that you've had with the county executives and the county assembly so far?
Thank you, moderator. Actually, we are almost doing 6 months since that meeting took place. And like I said before, I think I would like to commend especially the county assemblies for keeping their pending bills low. And also for those who had pending bills, they have really tried to settle. So I wouldn't say the same of some counties, the county executives, where the pending bills have been increasing instead. And without repeating the presentation, I also did say that revenue has improved, although the sector of the revenue that has been improving is the ones in the hospitals. So I did mention that we need to know, is it the technology that has improved, or is it the accounting? I really do not understand. But when I looked at the reports, I could see that in almost every county, the FIF had improved substantially, and it is the one that is propping the figure for the OSR. So I have to say that has improved. We have not done very well in terms of following my circulars in terms of expenditure. And if I zoom in, particularly in the county assemblies, there is a lot of both local and external travel. Now, I did put a method in place where the approval for foreign travel is lodged with my office, and when the claim comes through from those who travel, we combine the letter from the traveler and the one in my office in order to pay the claim. So that has really improved the process of settling foreign travel claims. At the same time, in terms of domestic, we also did put some measures, and I have to say I have had quite good cooperation from the county assemblies. So I think we are in the right trajectory. In spite of the funds delaying every once in a while, I still think, again, this year has not been the worst. Last year, 23-24, was worse than what we have this year in terms of catching up with the disbursements. But I do know that the county assemblies have some complaints in terms of the allocation within the county now, yeah? How the executives handle the requisitions from the assembly vis-a-vis the ones from the county executive. So that is one area I think we can improve. And I'm aware that there was talk of giving the county assemblies autonomy, which I fully support and which I believe is going to resolve that stalemate that normally exists between the executive and the assembly. Thank you.
Thank you. I heard the autonomy thing and you clapped. So that autonomy should come like yesterday. And we have our brothers also from the CRA. We will get a little bit of in-depth in terms of what best can be done to allow the county assemblies to get their autonomy in terms of finances. CPA Ngala, vitu vinakwama hapa Nairobi. And Dr. Nyakongo says it's because you people are not doing the right things. And as if requisitions were to come and follow the laid down guidelines and everything was in order, then things would have moved in swiftly so that you are able to get your requisitions in good time. Do you think the engagement you've had with COB in September has helped and that funds are now flowing to the counties in a manner that has much more improved than it was before? And what do you think can be done differently?
Thank you. I must appreciate the meeting we had with COB. And at first, it was a fist-off engagement between the Assembly's executive and the COB. But having given an elaborate and the challenges that we face with COB, we have made strides and we are now seeing things flowing. However, I think there's more to be done. And it's not a matter of things flowing. It's a matter of putting processes and which should be followed right from the beginning. For example, when you place a request, my view would be COB will be able to tell us how many days will it take so that we can be able to give information to the members. For example, if it's DSA, you have attached all the requisite documentation that it is required by COB. How many days will it take for the request to be approved? Sometimes there is unnecessary delay, which we don't understand where it's coming from, because you have attached all the documents, but something that is straightforward takes like 1 or 2 weeks to come from the COB. And the members are here. For example, you have DSA for, say for CASA, or for even this legislative summit. The letter is there. All the requirements you have attached, but it takes 3-4 days. Where is the problem? So I think we should have a clear understanding, like if you have attached a checklist, say at even the fiscal analyst, you have attached all their documents. The fiscal analyst ticks This one you have attached, this one you have attached, this one you have attached. Wait for 2 to 3 days, your request is going to be out. I think that information is going to help us even plan for the release of the exchequer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Douglas. And I think the COB has noted the few issues, and she will respond at the end when I allow her to respond to other questions as well. Mheshimiwa,
Yes,
you have had the recommendations, you've had the critique of Dr. Nyakongo, and to the effect that we have pending bills that are not ending. The problem gets compounded. We have underperformance of revenue, except for the one stream she has mentioned and highlighted. We have 38 counties being unable to meet the 30% requirement of development expenditure, a critical aspect of the PFM and the law. Although we don't say the 70% of recurrent is all evil, but I mean there has been a reason as to why that benchmark has been put. Counties are unable to get their wage bill to below 35%, which is again the requirement of the PFM. So the question I want to ask is the reports of the control of budget of any use to the county assemblies? Is it of any use to help them in oversight? And if it is, or if it does, why do we have these problems keep on recurring and the improvement is so slow? What is hampering the oversight function of the county assemblies with the mechanisms that you have a report ready for you to consume and to question people alongside the report that you've been given?
Thank you very much, Moderator and Honorable Speaker, for that matter, forever you will be. Out of the 4 issues that you've raised, that is pending bill, underperformance on revenue collection, 30% development, and wage bill. The primary responsibility of addressing this issue is by county assembly, not the controller of budgets. The controller of budget will release budget review implementation report on quarterly basis. But once we formulate our budget that have been approved by the controller of budget, it's the responsibility of the respective sectoral committees and the Committee on Budget and Appropriation to confirm whether indeed there's an expenditure that was not budgeted for or revenue was not sufficient and therefore it is a pending bill. Because how do we find ourselves in pending bill? It means there was an expenditure that was not budgeted for, or an expenditure was incurred and revenue local was not sufficient, because as sure as day follows night, the national disbursement will always get itself to the counties. So, if then we did not raise enough revenue, did the county assembly and the respective committee inquire, investigate as to how much was the deficit, so that in subsequent budget you appropriate for it, because the responsibility of the county assembly and the county executive committee member, and in particular the committee on finance, to check on revenue collection on monthly basis, not even on quarterly basis. There are instances where the Office of the Controller of Budget will release the reports for the first quarter in the second quarter. For the first quarter in December, because of the backlog. Imagine all entities, and I'm not speaking for Office of the Controller, all entities of the government in the Republic of Kenya, national, county, including independent offices, have to receive such reports. But then we have a responsibility to ensure that is done. Now, on 30% development, whose responsibility is it under PFM, under Constitution, to ensure that even before the budget is approved, that is complied with? It's the responsibility of us as a county assembly. The executive may place figures that violate the law, but that does not guarantee guarantee that we approve the budget as presented by the executive member for finance. Therefore, it is during that inquiry, and after that estimates have been presented to the COB, chances are that even by the time in June counties are approving the budget, the controller of budget will have raised issues that take note, because for the time I've been there from 2017, every appropriate, you will get a notice from the controller of budget pointing out such issues. But many are instances where counties will still proceed and approve an appropriation which is unconstitutional. And therefore, then governors will find a way of explaining and justifying that this was a recurrent, this was bursary is important, we require education. But I think, again, we have a responsibility as County Assembly to deal with this matter. Wage bill. You know, and I do know, that the appetite to employ in this country is so much. And the problem is not the appetite to employ. It is our education policy is not formed to offer alternative ways of livelihood. And therefore, every other graduate, the only way you can satisfy their income is through employment. To account that as 1,000 graduates, that county must find a way of accommodating them. So you'll find that there are more programs in department that require services, and particularly health is leading, reasons being because health is the sector that relates with the citizens. And where you have as many dispensaries, assuming 5 or 6 in every ward, you require a clinical officer and a nurse for that matter. Because it is not important to have the drugs, pharmaceuticals, and non-pharmaceuticals without staffing. So these then, you find that the wage bill in some instances has been pushed by a demand for service delivery. That begs the question, which I still ask myself, when we peg development to mean that development is brick and mortar, and when you mix it and construct a classroom or drilling a borehole, that is development, then what happens to an health society that is not developing? So if then the society is sick and we are not able to provide medicine and health care office to help our people to develop to the economy, is that not a component of a development? So that then you don't look at it as a pure recurrent. So the narrative that development is tarmacking roads, in my view, is misplaced. Tarmacking roads is facilitating farmers to get goods and products to the marketplace for purposes of economic development. But how then will a sick nation be able to use that tarmac road or borehole or any other brick and mortar institution, quote, development and facility? And therefore, as we progress and CRA is here and Kenya law is here, we need again to interrogate whether there are things that are recurrent in nature and there are things that are recurrent development and there are things that are brick and mortar development. So that is an area that we need to improve the law and facilitate and provide for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. And I think we added and said that all recurrent expenditure isn't evil. But again, that is what the law says for now, that 30% goes to development. And this has been developed over time to think that maybe 70% of recurrent expenditure is good enough. The national government has police service, they pay. They have teachers, they pay. They have doctors also on their payroll, they pay. Sisi county ni askari tu. Ndio tumetosheana hapo, county askaris. So there shouldn't be a reason as to why we still cannot contain the wage bill to 35%. And I think Commissioner Koitamet will tell us also what his experiences has been. Because there is all this that even though the wage bill is going up, the wage bill is being risen not by technical staff but by lower cadre staff. Watu wa kufagia, watu ya kutembea, kutangatanga, kufanya barabara. But I want to have one more question to you. The Controller of Budget says she releases the reports timely. In fact, which ought to be within 30 days after the end of the quarter. This report is with the county assemblies. But again, the county assemblies are taking time to prioritize such a report, which is so important to you. So is the problem a delay of delivery that maybe Dr. Nyakango is unaware? Akituma ni kama imekwama hapa katikati ama inafika on time? And kama inafika on time, what are the issues that members find challenging not to be able to oversight using these reports and ensure that the county executives are held to account?
In fact, briefly, is that the reports of the Controller of Budget for the first quarter will get to counties in the end of second quarter, in December. So for 30th September, in end of December. For December, sometimes in April. And sometimes they take long. And I made an explanation, I think, this backlog of work that has been done for this country, considering the lean office of the Office of the Controller of Budget. But by the time these reports are tabled to the Committee on Budget and Appropriation Committee to report considering recess, considering periods for public participation, they may find themselves taking, on average, 2 to 3 months. Because there is a pending business for the county assembly, you have statements, you have motions, you have petitions, and they are queued And therefore, the committee has within 90 days, 30 to 9 days to consider that report. By the time committee will table the report of the control of budget, on the review and implementation of the budget, will be the fourth quarter, and they will be tabling and adopting a report of the second quarter. And therefore, the recommendations of the control of the budget and the findings to the county executive committee member for finance and executive arm are way overtaken in terms of checking on the issues of implementation of the budget for the first and the second quarter. And therefore, the recommendations are good, but may come in way too late. Then that becomes it not easy to implement them.
Thank you, Dr. You have taken note that reports of September come in December. So I think you will tell us something about that. Commissioner Koitamet, recommendations of the control of budget, capacity building of members so that they understand issues of budget. That would call for resource. Public participation to ensure on the integrity of budget processes. That would call on resource. Just to ask, is there a link between resourcing oversight institutions like county assembly, COB, CRA, the Office of the Auditor General? Is there a correlation between ensuring that they are well resourced and the output of performance in terms of what they can be able to perform? And what do you think CRA is doing about issues of ceiling, which has been the complaint across the board for county assemblies, that they are unable to operate because the ceilings are hitting too hard on them, and they emanate from you?
Thank you very much, Speaker. First of all, on the issue of capacity building, CRA ensures that when a new assembly is elected, resources are given to ensure that there's capacity building. So you'll find that there is always money allocated for capacity building, at least for the first 2-3 years, to make sure that all the members are, build their capacity, depending on where they came from, so that they can be able to carry out their functions as members of the county assembly. Do all the county assemblies do that? Do they all train? That's a different question, because I am aware that CRA itself engages with the county assemblies and sometimes conducts its own, let me say, suo motu trainings or capacity buildings with the assemblies. Sometimes when it is called upon by the assemblies, it does that. Sometimes we also have joint activities with the control of budget and even Auditor General to build capacity for the counties. So if the assemblies have not benefited from or taken advantage of some of those capacity building initiatives, I think it is something that they should try and take advantage of in the future. And then when it comes to the question of ceilings, I know the other commissioner was here, Commissioner Gedi, react or respond to the question of ceilings, because we did our recommendation, especially in the 23-24, 24-25 ceiling, that was overturned or was changed, and county assemblies ended up losing money. I told the group that was at Safari Park when we had an engagement then, that we were not consulted by the Senate by the time they were making the final recommendation. Was it a requirement for the Senate to come back to us? That's a question to be answered. It's a legal question that has to be answered. Because when the president returned a memorandum to Parliament, they went and considered. When Parliament had engagements with the Senate and decided to change, they did not come back to CRA. So can we respond to that question? And that's why I'm asking, was it a legal requirement? Senate determines. But remember, CRA arrives at the ceilings through a scientific way. So by the time you're deciding, okay, 12 billion in Billy, what science did you use? I don't know. So let me just say, at that point, I cannot take responsibility. We did our job, and we stood with the work that we had done. The issue of ceilings when it comes to employment, CRA has set ceilings based on the various categories and the number of the county representatives within the ward representatives. You are expected to adhere to those ceilings. I don't think there's one county that has adhered. Sometimes because they claim they found permanent staff or they inherit staff who they are not able to fire. And as my colleague here, my panelist, was saying, we have a problem of always employing. Every new government that comes, every new assembly that comes, you'll find that the MCAs and, the speaker, they also have people they made promises to, and they may want to give jobs. What do? We are not increasing the number of people we must represent. If you are representing 10 wards, there are still 10 wards and require a limited number. So this is something that we need to have, we continue having this conversation. There was the wage bill conversation that was there last year. There are recommendations that were given during that wage bill conference. They have not been implemented, and if they have, I've not actually known how far we have to address those issues. So I'll still appeal to the assemblies. If it is very difficult to sack somebody, when some of them retire, then don't employ. Don't fill that position if you already exceeded the requirement. But then there's a question that will come. The person retiring is a technical person, yet the people who fill most of the positions are the other staff members. What do I do? If a technical person exists, I must get a technical person. So we have that vicious circle going on. And probably we may need to revisit some of those ceilings with the SRC and the CRA to see whether the agenda, but this is a conversation that must continue. We cannot just say we are ending it here.
Thank you. Thank you. And an open conversation, I think that is what we are talking about, the engagements that we need to have, the collaborations between you, the county assemblies. I don't know whether the county assemblies were expecting that you would do a press conference and say the Senate has treated them in a manner that was not fair. But again, that is not your place, because you are not activists, you are not arm of an independent institution. But I think they might have wanted you to weigh in and say, no, looks like the county assemblies are having it the rough side of it. But again, Dr. Nyakango, you've had CP Ngala, he says, even after they have been able to comply, there are still bottlenecks. Mheshimiwa Mbilu says, your reports are coming a little bit too late, and budget being a live document, by the time it comes, they says the wheels have turned a little bit too fast. So what do you think you can do in the intervening time to ensure that, one, issues of the budget oversight report that you give are timely, so that the assemblies are able to prioritize in good time? And I don't know whether I would want you to repeat the issues that you have said about the releases. You've said comply. He says we have complied, but there are issues, so we can't test it here. But again, just give an assurance that if such compliance is given, then what are the number of days an accounting officer would expect his releases to be in the accounts? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I am happy to answer both questions because it's a good opportunity for me also to say what my challenges are. Now, in terms of the requisitions, we are aware that sometimes funds are delayed That is from the treasury. So when the funds finally come, do you know what happens? 47 counties and 47 county assemblies all prepare their requisitions and come to the control of budget. Do you know how many controllers of budget we have?
So you will have to deal with 47 times 2.
I have to deal with 94, and they all want their requisitions the same day. Can you please understand? I only have one hand to sign. Yeah? So, assuming a very ideal situation where everybody has obeyed everything, yeah, and they have brought, would still have the limitation on the time it takes to sign. In spite of that, I never go home with requisitions on my table. Granted that on a day like this, I'm here facilitating this conference. On my desk, there'll be requisitions. There are only 2 of us who can sign. That is me and my deputy.
Can I come to help you sign?
Currently he is on leave. You have to change the constitution before that can happen.
That was on a light note, so you can hear the challenges. Okay.
So, what I would ask, and I don't know, I don't think CPA Ngala can solve it for me, is that we want the funds to be released continuously. If the funds come continuously by a month, the way it is planned, the way the cash flow statements come, it means that our workload will be spread out so that as and when the requisition comes, I can sign it the same day. And I can promise you, if that happens, try me. Because we work very, very hard. We are just 2 of us. Right now, my deputy is on leave. I'm the only one on duty. And we do our best. We do our best in the circumstances.
Thank you.
So our challenge, ni pesa.
Thank you. On the reports?
Now, on the reports, it is very interesting. I normally send the circular for the data to come from the counties and from the assemblies. What happens? The counties have 15 days within which to give me the data which forms the report. Do you have any idea when these returns come? Many of the returns come a month after my circular. And I've had to threaten some counties, telling them, we are going to go ahead without you. That is the only time they wake up. And they start bringing in the returns way, way after the statutory requirement. Now, if we are receiving the data a month after it was required, what do you expect is going to happen with the final document? Have you seen the size of document that we produce? Umeona? Thank you. Do you know what it takes to put that together? Have you any idea? If you have an idea, thank you very much for appreciating that we spend sleepless nights to prepare that report when we do it. But that is besides the point. Right now, as I'm speaking to you, we already have the half-year report. That is the report as at the end of December. And this report has been around since last week, I think, for about 2 weeks now. It's been in the media. Now, if the media can access it, it means that the county assembly can also access it. But I'm afraid to tell you, Chair,
Yes.
that we visited some county assemblies where we found the report from my office still packaged in the same packages that we had dispatched. And we have tried by giving you a soft copy, which you can download and make any decisions that you may require. So, if the book is delayed, the website is not delayed. Please use the report from the website and it will be perfectly good for decision making. I don't think any of the reports is so late that we can say that it has impacted the decision making. That is my comment.
Thank you. Before I go to issue, take a few questions, I see all the hands are up. So I will use the one-third gender rule. But before I do that, I just wanted to give quick shots to Professor, Jack. Kidogo tu. Professor Jack, just a minute. Professor Jack, I want to give you a minute. I want to give you a minute to just tell us how best you think you can collaborate with the counties in the issues of counterterrorism that you have. I'm trying to link up this with the budgets that they will make in future. So just 1 minute. No, Keegan. Just 1 minute.
Thank you very much, moderator.
So that we give the participants some more time to ask you questions.
Yeah, as I am the Director, National Counterterrorism Center, and I think what we are doing now is we want to beseech the county assemblies to assist us to create a bill, an act that will assist us drive the CVE agenda, that is counter-violent extremism, because we realize, as the controller of budget has mentioned, about the legal framework. There is no legal framework that can assist the center to drive the CVE agenda at the grassroots level. So you realize that so that we can get funding from partners, we can get funding from government and all that. So though it's a security issue, but we feel that ownership and assistance from the county assembly is key, because we've engaged the county assemblies forum, equally the council of governors, and we're in the process of engaging them so that we can find how can we synergize to drive the CVE agenda.
Thank you. Professor Jack, 1 minute. You have the Kenya law.
Thank you very much.
How do you collaborate with counties, and specifically county assemblies who are the lawmaking entity at the county government level? And what are the incentives that your website and your office offers to members of county assembly in terms of doing their oversight role?
Thank you very much. Actually, I have had the opportunity of visiting quite a number of counties. In most cases, when I do, I want to visit the representatives of the assembly and also the attorneys, because one of the disparate issues that arise under the control of budget, as that just mentioned, is about strengthening the legal framework and also capacity building within the county framework. Generally, we have discovered that information within the counties are actually scattered in different entities within different organizations, and therefore you think control of budget that your information has reached them. They have reached a particular office, it has not spread. As Kenya law, we have been developing a county legal resource center, and we have been indicating to the counties that if we work together, all this information can be in one platform where every of the counties would get all the information, and sometimes even enforcement. If you want to know how your county performance links with, say, the PFMA, that tool will help you to direct your county system to the PFMA system within the national government. So we think that having a centralized information framework that is targeted to each county specifically, but linking them with the national system at the national government from the COB, CRA, and all that. If we have this information centralized in a repository that is county targeted, then we'll be able to facilitate and help the counties, especially the county assemblies, do their work. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now take a few questions. I will start with the lady here. Someone to help me with the moving around. The lady, and then the gentleman next to you here. Then I will take one here, Mheshimiwa here. I have to balance. Then I take the gentleman at the back. How many are those? Someone to help me track. Just a minute, we are coming. And then the lady at the end there. Okay. And let the questions be as brief as 30 seconds.
Thank you so much. I am going to be very brief. My name is Honorable Florence Ouma from the County Assembly of Homa Bay, County of Endless Potential. My question goes direct to Dr. Nyakango. Daktari, you need to know very well that the people you are talking to are very hungry because one, you have not approved. Most of us here are here without allowances. So I'm just wondering, that is, you said you have to be convinced. I'm not even sure if you're already convinced that we are supposed to be in this summit. That is why most of these people don't have their allowances. Dr. Nyakango, still on you, the main problem that you said is that most MCAs align with the executive. This is because the monies that are paid to the members is very meager. That is why sometimes they have to depend on some of the allowances because we are the people who are very close to the people. So, but one thing that you did that really hurt me as a sports person is that you decided to cut the 10 days of CASA to 7 days. CASA has a total of 21 disciplines. And let me remind you, because even the Bible allows us to remind people, we are 47 counties. And these 47 counties have to be clustered. Doing that in 7 days, if you would have been there, you would have seen some MCAs walking like this because of the pressure of the sports.
Thank you.
Please be human. Thank you.
Thank you. Mheshimiwa there.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Tarus John from Sacho, Baringo. Question number 1, you talked about autonomy of the county assemblies. When is it coming? Two, when you talk about CARA is basing its allocation on the recently audited accounts. Why was the budget for county assemblies and the counties in general slashed? Yet we are basing the budget or the ceilings on audited accounts for the other years, not this year. And then question number 3. County assemblies are majorly recurrent. Their budgets are recurrent. But the problem is that the controls that you talked about is controlling the spending to the point where it stifles the work of the county assemblies. You need to look into that. Lastly,
I have allowed you a latitude. I'm allowing everybody else just one question. So, Mheshimiwa, you'll excuse me because of time. Mheshimiwa here, just one question.
Thank you. My question also goes to.
Hiyo inaitwa kupita katikati.
My question goes to.
Continue.
To Madam COB. Daktari, you see, we as elected MCS, Madam CPA, previously we have been giving bursaries. But all of a sudden, you issued a circular putting a stop to it. And imagine, as counties, we had already approved the budget, even we had uploaded, even we had done the listing of all the beneficiaries. They were aware. So, Madam, I don't know what made you to do that, because if we were not in order, you could have even given us this financial year, we do it, then you stop us ahead. What you did, Madam, you just signed a direct ticket for us losing the general elections.
Okay,
thank you.
I will allow the controller first to respond because she. Let's so that we don't lose focus of. Just a minute, I will give it back to you. But Madam Dr. Nyakongo, just to add on to the last question, I think the question is tilted towards what informed the timing. We have had how many years? From 2013 of devolution. We've had you being in office from 2019. And in the middle of a budget implementation process. Why not before the budgets were formulated? Why the timing? That is, I think, where the question is. You now can proceed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Let me address Madam, who talked about the duration of the games. The duration of the games was fully discussed by the national chair, and I think that you have a chair for the sports and a national chair. We sat and we all said that in line with prudent financial management, we reduce the duration. It was jointly agreed, and that is why the circular was done from the CAF office. You are leaders.
I will allow you supplementary questions. Please allow the presenter to finish the answer. Continue.
Yes, the leaders of the CAF are the ones actually who made that decision after we discussed. We said, so I'll keep quiet until everybody's listening.
Just a minute. Honorable members, we had said we will abide by our parliamentary procedures. Mm-hmm. So, because if anyone has a point of order, you would say point of order. But if we shout, then we'll be like in a marketplace. So let's allow her to respond. You still have other questions along the way, and others can ask supplementary questions. Please, kindly. Continue, Daktari.
Now, my job is to enforce. So after the CAF leaders gave me the duration that they felt was most reasonable, my job was to enforce, to ensure that their circular letter was implemented. So that is what I did. And then I don't remember the second question. She wanted me to be human. I'm very human, madam. That I promise you, I'll continue to be human. Now, the second question related to autonomy. Now, the autonomy, unfortunately, does not come from my office. As I said, I support it, but it comes from Parliament. So I hope that the message will reach Parliament where the decision is being made. But once the autonomy is in place, I will enforce. My job is to enforce. Then thirdly was the issue of bursaries and the timing. Yeah? This autonomy, have you been autonomous since devolution started? Why do you suddenly need autonomy? No, I just want as a good example. Why did you suddenly think you needed autonomy? There must be some circumstances which made you feel that you were not receiving the kind of service that you would require. Now, in my office, as you are aware, the circular I do every year is reviewed to see any emerging circumstances that require attention. And this time, it happened to be the bursary. Now, many counties have been operating funds, a bursary fund. And when you operate a bursary fund, it has regulations. How do you determine the beneficiaries? I have never imagined that the beneficiaries are MCAs. The beneficiaries are usually students. Now, even now, nothing stops you from helping needy cases as long as you have a law which helps you to establish who the needy students are. There is none. But as for the bursaries that you are giving, the matter is currently in court. It is not with me. And the chair here can advise you what happens when a matter is in court. It is not discussed in a forum like this. If we have any evidence, we take it to court so that the judges can give a decision in our favor.
Okay.
That is what we can do. Now we can take some more.
Thank you. Let me give Commissioner Koitame to answer on the issue of, because they are also helping in trying to ensure that county assemblies are autonomous. Commissioner, in terms of the advisories you give to Parliament, the advisories you give to National Treasury in terms of funds management, the challenges county assemblies have been facing, when do you think this can come to light?
Well, we have had engagement with both the Senate and the National Assembly. The bill left the Senate, it is at the National Assembly. And as far as CRA is concerned, we supported the view that the counties become autonomous. The Senate itself is also supporting the view. So it's just a matter of time. I don't know how long it will take at the National Assembly, but we are trying to ask them to fast track it so that maybe sooner than later we will have that autonomy.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me take the gentleman here.
Thank you. My name is Manuel Istuma, Speaker, County Assembly of Bungoma. I wish to write on subsisting protocols. My first question to the Vice Chair of the CRA, specifically on this issue of revenue allocation to the county assemblies, the so-called scientific formula you use, whether you seek views from technical people from the counties or you don't. For example, medical cover. We are the utilizers of this medical cover in our counties as the chairs of the service board. And now you've capped, for example, Bungoma, you've capped my medical cover at 32 million. But from the reports I get for utilization purposes, it's going up to 45. So we're asking this formula, do you seek views from our technical people, the clerk HR, or not? Secondly...
Order, Mheshimiwa, just one question. I'll go to the Speaker for Kisumu.
Let me finish, please. Let me finish, please.
Okay, continue.
I have a question to the CRA and the COP. Okay. Allow me finish.
Continue.
I may be speaking for many, please.
Okay.
The second question is, I asked this question in the morning on the CRA. You've capped public participation in the assemblies at 5 documents from the budget only. Now, the question here is, apart from what we do for budget approvals, we have other legislation that we do at the assembly level. For example, my assembly passed 15 bills away from the budget that we approve, which undergo public participation. Now, what happens in the situation where you've capped 5, and the COP is saying weak and lack of sufficient funding to the counties? How to cure that mischief? And lastly, we have double funny ceilings that we are seeing in this country. When we are approving at the county level, the county research paper, we set ceilings at the county level for county executive in the county assembly. Then again, also the Senate seats again sets a parallel ceiling contrary to the earlier one we've approved at the county level. So which one do we follow at the COP? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, honorable order, if you want us to exhaust the questions of every of your colleagues, then you will have to allow us latitude to allow only one question.
I was the first one.
Otherwise, only one person will ask a question for the rest of you. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Speaker Kisumu,
my name is Boniface Osang.
I'll give it to you, Mheshimiwa. Give it to Speaker
But
first.
I was the first one to raise the hand.
Okay, continue.
Yes, respect must also be there for members of county assemblies.
Okay.
Boniface Osanga, my first question goes to COB. COB, being aware that we have COB officers at the county level, why do you allow our accounting officers to gather fiscal document to your office in Nairobi? Second question to you, being aware that everything is online, why do you want our officers to sit in your office for 2 weeks before you approve withdrawals? The last question goes to CRA. Give me time, boss. I'm talking on your behalf.
Continue,
Sit down.
continue, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you. My second question goes to CRA. FIF, the way it is being spent at the source. Is it a source of revenue? And if it is, where can we not budget for them before we spend? The last on our source revenue systems. Being aware that our revenue systems are not integrated to infamous systems, how best can we do to ensure that we have accountability and transparency when it comes to county collection of revenues? Thank you.
Let me finish with the speaker here.
Thank you so much. My name is Elisha Jakuraro, Speaker Kisumu. My first question has been asked by the Speaker Bungoma, so I won't repeat it, the issue of public participation. So a comment, I feel like the COB Dr. Nyakango has evaded the question that was asked. It's not about why the circular, it was the timing. The question was about timing. If you answer about timing, it will interfere with any court process. The counties want to know the reason why it's in between the implementation. Lastly, to CRA, it's also on the ceiling. You have pegged the ceiling for the county assemblies based on, especially on recurrent, on employment, based on the number of members of county assembly. And it's in terms of up to 30 to 60 and then above 60. For example, those who are between 30 and 60, you give them up to, say, 100 staff members. Is it not equal to saying that if you're in a school of 200 students, then you only do 6 classrooms? Then in a school of 1,000 students, you do 20 classrooms. Because I believe that even if there are 25 MCS, they will still need, the services of the staff as equal to that one with 120 MCS.
Thank you. Let's allow them to respond to those questions first before we take other questions.
Just one comment. My name is James Namati. Control of budget, I just wanted to tell you that have faith in your employees at the counties because they are doing a good job. They can look at those documents and verify everything, the checklist, so that when it comes to you, it's just a matter of signature.
Thank you.
Just the same as the DPP is doing cases from Nairobi is one person, but he's having all these people doing cases all over the country.
Thank
same
you.
To Attorney General.
Thank you.
For revenue.
Thank you.
And same to the
Thank you. Daktari, I want to have just to buttress 2 questions as you answer all the questions. One, the question dealing with CECs, accounting officers coming all the way from the counties. It's been a matter that was addressed by the Cabinet Secretary for Finance, Honorable Mbadi. In fact, at one point accusing the Office of the Controller of Budget of rent seeking. When do you think we can automate services of your office such that requisitions would not require any officer to travel from the counties? They will be sent, they come to your desktop, your approvals are done, and they are sent back to the counties without hindrance. When do you think that can be done in terms of automation? And to Commissioner Koitamet, the issues around the staff. The experience with assemblies is such that whether you have 10 members or 100 members, there will be the number of departmental committees that there will be. Between 6, which is the list of the assembly, and 9. Public Accounts Committee will be there. House Business Committee will be there. Every other committee that is in an assembly of 100 would be available in an assembly where you have got 50 members or 30 members or even 20 members. Why do you think there's that disparity in terms of numbers of the scientific basis with which you used to try and curb giving staff to the county assemblies in terms of advisory? So I will allow you to go first, and then I'll come to Dr. Nyakango.
Thank you very much. I'll go first of all to the question on ceiling. County governments receive different allocations. Nairobi does not receive the same allocation with Lamu. When you look at the number of staff that you require to serve the public in Nairobi, vis-a-vis the number of staff you require to serve the people of Lamu, Nairobi will require more. And it's obvious. So these allocations, as we are saying, are scientific. Yes, we know. Every county has one, has between 6 and 14 committees, depending on the number of MCAs. And that is why we make sure that there is a minimum threshold of something that every county must receive. Then it is differentiated by the number of wards. So it will not be true to say that you must allocate the same throughout the country. It can't work because more people will require more people to serve them.
So maybe going forward, the collaboration we are talking about is where you can have a discussion between CAF and the office of the CRA to try and get to know what is the bare minimum that any assembly can survive on, so that now that does not make a problem of hindering the county assemblies from functioning. I think going forward, that is the discussion we can try to look at. Doctor?
Thanks, Chair. Once again, I would like to address the issue of COB officers at the county level vis-a-vis the people who travel to Nairobi. And I've had this thing many, many times. No one has ever shown me where the requirement came from. And perhaps you might tell me today where the requirement for officers to come to COB's office in Nairobi came from, because I'm not aware. Number two, whom do those people come to see?
Order,
Whom
members.
do they come to see?
Order.
That is a question I'm throwing back to you. Do they come to see me? Can I see a show of hands of somebody who has come to see me? Please show me one of you who has come to see me.
Order. Proceed.
Why do those people come to see me? Why do you think they need to see me?
Yes.
Who has asked them to come? What is their purpose for coming to Nairobi?
So just a minute, Daktari, so that I am able to give directions.
Can we know the beginning of this coming?
No,
I'm asking the same question in earnest.
No, Daktari,
I want to know where it came from.
Let me
and why they come.
Let me
rephrase. And whom they come to see.
Let me rephrase. Order. Daktari, you can give us order, please. Daktari, you can just give us in terms of if there is no requirement for these officers to travel, if there is an easy way in which the documentation can be sent to your office, we would rather go by that line in terms of what your requirement would be, who will deliver the documents to your office, how will they be delivered, such that members are able to understand at that level to curtail and ask the accounting officers not to leave the counties. Maybe you can advise us. Can you listen, please? Order.
Okay.
Let's listen.
Okay. Let me put it this way.
Yes.
I don't know whose requirement it is, because it is not my requirement. All the documents can come by courier. And can we start doing that right away, starting this coming week? I want the documents to come by courier, addressed to the controller of budget. We pick our documents every day. I don't want to see any officers from the counties coming to chase requisitions, because there is no such requirement in my office. And I'm serious about this.
So do you think anytime soon there can be automation of the systems of the controller of budget?
Now, automation,
yes.
Automation is not a process that is done by one office. automation is a chain process. That means that the counties must automate from their county treasury so that they can send me the documents online, I approve online, and they go to the CBK online. That means that the three entities must be on the same system. So it's not about the COB automating, it's not about the county automating or the CBK.
Yeah.
They must all be on the same system.
So because it must originate from somewhere as the core,
yes,
as the anchor,
it
as
must
the
originate,
yeah.
come for approval, and go for payment. Now, we have already automated the national government exchequer requisitions. And those who read the press, you know that the national government requisitions can now be done, and I can approve them as long as I have my credentials. I can approve them from anywhere. Now, what is stopping the counties from automating? What is stopping them is that they have not standardized the way they make the requisitions. Because if they standardize so that everybody prepares the same set of documents that goes through the system, then we'll automate. Now, thankfully, the National Treasury already has a task force that is looking at county requisitions, and the target is that by June of 2025, we'll be having exchequer automated for the counties.
Thank you.
So it's a matter of standardizing the requirements, and we'll be there. Now, I was going to comment on the officers at the county level. I know you have a lot of faith in them, but I also know a few things about the faith that you have in those officers. Si mnajua yako mmoja, that officer is all alone, eh? So it's very easy to compromise.
Yeah.
That is not the way to have checks and balances. And my office is structured in such a way that we have checks and balances. So the work that is done at the county must be checked by someone else at the headquarters before it passes the test.
Order. So thank you. Honorable members, what is the time? Can you check what the time is? Just a minute.
Chair.
So can we finish in the next 15 minutes? You want us to spend here tonight? My contract runs until 4:30, so you will have to extend.
Chair.
So anyway,
there was a question from the middle
so
here.
So let her answer the question. We'll take one set of questions, and then we'll try to see how we can wrap up.
Yes.
Yes.
There is I think it is a speaker from Kisumu who asked about the timing of the circular. What would you rather have had? What would have been the best time? So I throw the question back to you. I cannot answer because...
Order.
Before approval of the budget.
Please tell me the best time so that next time I issue a circular, I'll be more careful to align it with your timing.
Before approval of the budget.
Okay, noted. We'll do that next time.
Okay, thank you.
As for this one, it is already gone.
Okay.
You know, magic iteremuka, we cannot pull it back.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you. So let me give it to Commissioner Koitame to answer two more questions that were pending. So I think the take home order members. The take home would be Daktari, is that because of the expectation, once a budget is approved, so that now there isn't a clash between the expectation and the members. When circulars are being done, let them be aligned with the budget cycle, such that if this process of, what do you call this one, the bursary was to be stopped, then it would be better to be stopped at the end of the financial year. They are told next year, we will not be allowing requisitions for budget. This is what we are talking about, control versus collaboration. Let's go, Commissioner Koitame.
Thank you. There were other two questions I was supposed to respond to, one on FIF and the other one on insurance. Well, yes, the question whether we do public participation on insurance, we get data from the counties. Counties, assemblies, you send reports to CRA, and at the same time, we also, on issues of premium, we also negotiate with service providers. So at least we have an idea of what happens. And remember, we've already given you a ceiling on the number of people who you are supposed to employ. Second, on FIF, these are funds ring-fenced to be used by the hospitals to improve the facilities. In fact, I know I've gone to counties where I see a lot of revenue being generated from FIF, and I've always said, I am very sad that we are not generating funds from other revenue streams. We have a lot from FIF, because then it means we are having a very, very unhealthy population. So we need to make sure that we also generate funds from the other streams, and not to show that we have a lot of money, but all of it is just in hospital.
Thank you. I want to give Mheshimiwa Mbilu 1 minute before I take a set of other questions.
Allow me to say something on public participation. I'm persuaded that the requirement of the Constitution on public participation is mandatory. And therefore, no institution can intervene to limit. If anything, should be policies and regulations on how to enhance. Further, it should be deepened and widened. I don't think CRA has a mandate to come into a constitutional mandate of engaging citizenry and therefore taking services from county headquarters to where the residents are. Two, in terms of the administrative issues within a county assembly as to how to have many committees to carry out public participation and so forth, I think it is rather engaging in administrative business of a county assembly, because that is the responsibility of the County Assembly Service Board and the Committee on Liaison that prioritizes and organizes business of the County Assembly to legislate. Otherwise, next time, Professor, we'll pass a law and there will be no, without public participation, and we will quote CRA regulation that you can only undertake this number of public participation. So
thank you.
Interpret for us.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you.
So I will give this a gentleman here, Mheshimiwa, on that corner first. Umerukwa na computer umechelewa, and then I will go. I had someone on this side, and then there is the lady there.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm coming back.
My name is...
Please, one question per question so that we are able to exhaust all the members' questions.
Thank you. My name is Mutuku from Makueni. I'm a clerk of a county assembly who has been an MCA. So if you don't mind, you can give me a minute, because I know.
So you speak from both sides?
I can speak on both sides.
Okay. 2 minutes.
Thank you. By the time we receive exchequers from the National Treasury, they will normally come and 2 months late. Which means right now we should be paying activities for January. What this means is it is very difficult to explain to an MCA why we received an exchequer last week, and 2 weeks down the line, we still do not have an approval from the Controller of Budget. And this is the reason. We have to prepare this documentation. It goes to the County Budget Controller, who is a technical officer in the Office of the Controller of Budget. Then this leaves again and goes to Nairobi at the Office of the Controller of Budget to find another technical officer who deals with the issue, and still the same requisitions before they go to Madam Controller of Budget. So if there are integrity issues at the county budget controller offices, then those offices should just be abolished so that we only have one technical person dealing with that issue. The only other issue is that we find a way, and Dr. Nyakango should find a way of strengthening the county budget controllers in such a way that they can do 90% of the work. Because it will take 3 days to deal at the county. When you say that officers have no business going to Nairobi, it is not true. If you tell me to send a courier for requisitions to go to the Office of Controller of Budget, it will take me a week. I have to send my director for finance
to go to Nairobi and wait for your comments, just in case there are things that are not clear, that the same requisition doesn't have to come back to the county. It is resolved at that level so that we can be able to find and get this money in a fast way to be able to facilitate our members. So if there is a problem, let us be honest to one another. It is a challenge that we must all face. We are not blaming anyone, but it's a discussion that we must have. We either automate or we strengthen the county controller of budgets to do 90% of the work within 2 or 3 days, and we have that concluded. Thank you.
Yes, next.
Thank you very much. My name is Stephen. I serve in the county government of Kajiado, the County Assembly of Kajiado as the majority whip. My first question to Dr. Margaret Nyakango, the control of budget, on the issue of the OSR, the own source revenue. He says this is what is bringing a lot of shortfall in the budget. And we know it's just that counties are just another arm of government, CBK the same, and the COB. What is this that is so hard to symbiotically bring together all these entities so that we can have one platform, a system that will be uniform, maybe through the approval of the COG, the approval of the National Parliament, and also the counties, to make sure that we have a system that will enhance revenue collection with all mekacheka, checks and balances, and a proper audit trail.
Thank you.
That will help counties move forward. Number two.
Just one question, Mheshimiwa. We have
one burning one, please. One burning one. The issue of wage bill cannot be a song all over the place. I think we have clear laws. You cannot be singing this song every time. And this is what is subduing counties to provide services at the grassroots levels. Why don't we have some stringent measures in the law that will make sure that the employment is capped at that 5%, as the law is very well stipulated. And the last one, but not least.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. You've taken too
Thank
long.
you.
The lady over there.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Noah.
You already have...
These guys at the center have taken all the time.
Okay,
so
proceed.
On the two sides, I think there's
And then we
a
have a
bit
lady
of
over there
marginalization.
at that end.
I have two questions, one for Dr. Margaret and one for the Commission on Revenue Allocation. I will start with the one on the Commission on Revenue Allocation.
30 seconds each.
Bana Commissioner, you have done public participation at all the county levels, even meeting at the county assemblies, and you have seen activities and the programs the assemblies have, and you have given a ceiling. Here comes the Senate, slashes the ceilings of the county assemblies. That means crippling the oversight role of the county assemblies. So what is your position as a commission and that of also the controller of budget? Because as an assemblies, we are unable to execute our mandate as far as oversight is concerned when there's grading in terms of the ceiling.
Thank you.
On the Madam Margaret, does your office have service charter putting all factors into constant? I mean, the way I think many people have raised, the clerks and the finance directors always tell us they camp in your office for 2 weeks waiting for the approval of the county assembly's requisition. Could you please tell us, because that is where the problem is. They might be telling us some, fallacies that the problem is you, while the problem is them.
Thank you.
Please clarify. Thank you.
My lady over there. And then I'll go to the gentleman at the end, and then I'll come to Mheshimiwa over here. Yes?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. Allow me to speak to CPA Dr. Nyakango. I would like to appreciate your presentation this afternoon, Madam. You've been explicit, to the point, and it is well researched. There are two questions that I had before that have been asked, but I would like to ask my last question on to the CRA. You supported the budget as was presented, and it sounds like even though it was supported, taken to the Senate, there is no avenue for redress. We are stepping back and say, oh, they've done it, we are helpless, there's nothing we can do. Is that really possible? That yes, the process has been duly followed, you supported it at your level, it goes to the Senate, they kill it. Is that how we run our offices? I think something needs to be done. And finally, I want to also address this to you. I like your recommendation, CRA, that development is not exclusive to tarmac and roads. That is a discussion we need to have candidly and look around and say, how can we improve that which needs to be improved and not be tied to things the way they have been done in the past? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Over there.
Thank you. I'm Peter Eko from Kisumu County Assembly. A matter was raised here and the controller of budget has not responded to. In her presentation, she told us public participation should be increased. And it has come up here that she capped public participation to 5. And this was raised by the Speaker of Bungoma. She has not responded to that. We need the answer. Why that circular came up. Okay. Another one, in her presentation, she said on domestic travels and foreign travels, that the documents are put together for traveling and the other documents is when payment is made. Can she clarify to us that domestic travels and foreign travels will be paid after we have gone on safari, or the formalities can be done and we are paid before the safaris?
Thank you. Mheshimiwa here. And then I will go to the end over there.
Excuse Dr. Nu.
Here.
I need to ask a question, please.
30 seconds.
Just one.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm Edukon Stephen from Turkana, and I want to appreciate Dr. Nyakango for the good presentation. But I also want to inform Dr. Nyakango that emotions do not give solutions. She was telling us that there are only 2 in the country in that COB office. The other one is on leave. I was imagining when you hold the country or counties at ransom, because there are many officers in the Office of the Control of Budget. And if it is service delivery, then you don't need to wait for the Control of Budget to look at those requisitions. Other officers are within there who have stayed in those offices for quite some time, and they understand what is required. So it does not require the Control of Budget chair and the vice chair to appear alone. There are other officers who are there. The other COB officers who are there used to use these other officers who are still there. Why is it hard for her to use the other officers?
Thank you.
That is being rigid.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much. My name is Lumumba Wade. I come from Kisumu County. My first question
Your only question, because we are running short of time.
Yes.
Yes.
The purpose of per diem is to help and cater for our night out on the days that we are out. We earn major. That money that we earn, we budget for it for our monthly commitment. When we are called up for such summit, we expect to have money and pay and sleep comfortably like any other officer. Here is a case where all the MCS, they go out, they don't have money. Like now, most of us, like me, I slept in Dandora. So I'm asking, what is so special that MCS are paid after? Yet we know senior officers are paid per diem the day they go out. And that is the purpose of the per diem. I'm privy to a circular that was given in this country by one called Francis Mutaura. When a driver was killed when sleeping in the vehicle, and the circular was that no officer should leave his station without per diem.
Thank you.
Finally,
Thank you,
Mr. I'm saying we have 16 sitting committees that are paid. Why is it capped to 16, yet some committees members can sit for more than 16 days?
Thank you. Thank you.
We would want to be given an explanation why we cannot be paid all the sittings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Over there.
Thank you, former MP and also a politician like us, even though you are not there. My name is Samuel Obrien from Migori, and possibly I want to just request Dr. Nyakango that don't kill the MCS or devolution. The devolution was there that everything to be at Mashinani. This case that officers are running to Nairobi actually is not very honest with us. Lastly, Madam, I don't know whether I say Nyakango must go for us not to suffer, because as we are suffering now, it is because of Dr. Nyakango thinking that is powerful than Martha Karua during Kibaki's era. These things come and goes, then release everything that is meant for us to come. No, Nyakango must go.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Nyakango is not going anywhere, and that's why she's here, so that we are able to engage. So let me allow the panelists to respond to the number of questions we have. Order, members. You need responses. So let's first get the responses, and then we see whether we can take another round later on. Should I start with the Mheshimiwa? Commissioner Koitamet? I see all questions are directed towards the two of you. I thought there would be questions towards Clark Ngala, towards Mheshimiwa Mbilu. Okay. Proceed.
Okay. I'll be very brief because some of these questions are straightforward.
A question for the clerk, just a minute. Let's take that one question for the clerk.
Yeah, my name is Honorable Zacchaeus Kubasu from Busia County. I have one question for clerk and for control of budget. Is a combined question. I wanted to ask, if the control of budget approves salaries for members, does it include the statutory deduction? Because some counties, they have not remitted the statutory deduction for more than 12 months, stating that it has not been approved by control of budget. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the only question you had, I know. So, Commissioner.
Mine? Just one. Kindly.
Order.
I just want to have one concern.
Order, Mheshimiwa, order.
You are biased.
We can't go until...
you are biased.
Okay, because you have the microphone, I'll allow you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mine is just one concern. Madam Nyakago, you are biased in your service delivery between the Senate, the county assemblies, and the National Assembly. When members of county assembly wants to go for national foreign trips, you delay approving their requisition. But members of National Assembly, hata haulizangi swali, kwa nini unabagua kati ya wajumbe wa assembly, senate na sisi? Ya pili,
thank you.
Markets are a devolved function. When members of National Assembly construct markets, you approve their requisitions. And when we ask for bursaries, unasema it is a national function. Why are you biased, Madam?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's not begin with Commissioner.
Okay. So it is important for us to be clear on some issues that have been raised. One, we've been accused as a commission of trying to regulate the number of public participations and so on. So I want to make it clear that CRA has not given any regulation on the number. The ceiling to the county comes as a lump sum. Once it comes to the county, every county prioritizes based on the needs within the county. We only use parameters within our allocation as guidelines. So we just use some of those to guide the scientific way of guiding. But once you receive your ceiling, it is upon the assembly and the members of the assembly to sit down, do their budget, prioritize, and appropriate. And then on the issue of, then there is the county government. Most county governments have not embraced the issue of ICRMS, in order to make sure that we have an integrated revenue collection system, then which we can easily work for all the counties. We've been having this conversation all over. In fact, we've gone another step forward by asking that we make sure within the counties, and this is where you have to help also as the county assemblies, to make sure that even if you have a locally or an in-house system, then it should be a system that can be integrated with national systems. So it is not just a system that can be used within the county and you cannot plug in anything from outside. And as CRA, we are helping counties to make sure that they acquire a certain standard, such that when we want to have one national integrated system, then it will be possible. And then I think I agree that, when it comes to the issue of development, this is also a conversation we are having. I have never believed that development is just a question of brick and mortar.
Thank you.
So we will continue having that conversation.
Thank you so much. Daktari? Dr. Margaret here?
Thank you for the opportunity once again. I want to comment on the clerk from Makueni, who is asking us to strengthen the county offices, and I agree with him. This we will do. Rather, we are doing on a continuous basis. So the next time we have this conference, let us find out what progress we have made. Because it's not enough for me just to tell you, I am going to do that.
Thank you.
On the wage bill, last year, 2024, SRC had a wage bill conference. And in that conference, a resolution was made that all entities, that is the counties, will have gone down to 35%, that is wage bill to revenue, by 2028. And that by now, each county should be having an action plan on how to arrive at that. And part of that process is to ensure that all the employees and all the, those who make up the wage bill are already on the HRIS, the HR information system. We all know that by June, we'll have done away with manual payrolls. So these things are in progress and we'll be monitoring. In our report, in case you have not checked it, please check on the progress of the wage bill for your county, and you will see that we are monitoring this very closely. Does the COB have a service charter? We have a service charter, and it is displayed from the lift case to the offices, and you can see what our promises are. However, there's no promise that can work without the other stakeholders doing their part. So if, for instance, the Treasury has not disbursed the funds, you will not expect my office to release the funds. If you have not given us your returns, you will not expect us to complete the report in the statutory timelines. So please, I'm asking everyone to pull their weight so that we can achieve the objectives that we have put in that charter. Now, development is not just brick and mortar. This is a budgeting issue. It is a budgeting issue in that when you plan for your development, do not just put the brick and mortar. Bring all those other aspects which will support these development projects to be productive to the community. So if you did not plan for those issues that will operationalize the project, then you are not planning properly, and that is not program-based budgeting. So we can have more sessions to discuss how we can improve our budgeting processes. Public participation, I've heard of a talk of 5 meetings. I'm sorry, this one is not in my purview, so I will not comment, but I was saying that for us to improve our budgets, we need to have more genuine public participation from the citizens. And it is you who will ensure that the citizens are actually attending the public participation so that their needs are articulated in the budget. Are imprest supposed to be paid before or after safari? A very interesting question. It depends on who prepares your imprests. If the funds are in the budget, if the funds are in the CRF, why is it that the plans for travel are not prepared way in advance? If this conference was planned a long time ago, why is it that the applications were not made in time? Again, it is a question I'm putting back to you. Please plan in good time, make your requisitions in good time. Of course, now you know how long it takes, isn't it? You already know how long it takes. Make sure you factor that in your applications. Now, somebody said, the gentleman from Turkana, that there are many officers in the office of the COB. That may well be true, but there are only 2 signatories who are recognized. That is constitutional. I cannot pick anyone to sign requisitions, so unfortunately, until we have a referendum to change this, it is a bit difficult. Now, who decides on who is going to receive the imprest? Again, a question came from that side saying that the senior people get their money first before junior officers. I'm afraid that is in-house, so I will not, because we do not decide at the COB's office, we do not decide which imprests are going to the senior and which ones are going to the juniors. Now, Busia, you wanted to know if we approve salaries with statutory payments. Yes, always salaries are released on gross. So, if there are any statutory payments that have not been made, please ask those who are paying in your office what they did with the statutory payments, because salaries are at gross. Members of the National Assembly are given money for markets, and you said that we do not ask members of the National Assembly. Now, if you know how the National Assembly operates, you will know that their budget is handled by the Parliamentary Service Commission, and it does not come to my office for singular approvals. So what happens is that the Parliamentary Service Commission receives their money in lump sum, like a state corporation. Once they receive their lump sum, then they decide which payments they are going to make. Now, my office, as COB is outside.
Half a day. But unfortunately, we can't go beyond this. We are going to wrap up. I'm going to give our panelists 30 seconds each, or a minute on the maximum, to say their closing remarks. Bonangala.
Thank you, Chair. I think you'll add me another 30 seconds because I have to answer the Honorable Member on...
I will. And
Okay.
the control of budget says she releases...
Yes, I want to confirm that she releases...
She releases salary on gross.
On gross.
Yeah.
But members, let us be aware of the fact that the release of the funds sometimes get late. For example, now we are in March, but the allocation we receive in county assemblies and county governments are in January or even December. So there will be at least 2 to 3 months where we have not paid the statutory deductions. Otherwise, the gross salaries are approved once we get the allocation. Now, my summary is if we need collaboration and oversight, we need all actors to be at the same level. We really appreciate the control of budget for coming up at the platform to affirm collaboration and oversight. But how are you going to collaborate with us if our oversight functions are not funded? County assemblies are struggling with the budgets. The oversight budget has already been depleted because our budgets have been strangled by CARA. So how are we going to collaborate? If we need to collaborate, then let us have the oversight budget even removed from the ceiling, so that if it is a county government or a executive has been allocated budget for development, say around 7 billion, can we have a percentage of that being allocated for oversight, so that we can be able to oversight amply and amicably, rather than having a budget from the executive of around 7 billion, and then county assemblies oversight budget is around 60 million. That will not be able to work. So that is what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much.
Just 1 minute as you address.
Yes,
I have been trying to look at the website of the Kenya law, and a number of counties, there are no laws. Though they have been having laws since 2013, I mean, it's actually blank. Our colleague seated here, Honorable Speaker for Makueni. In fact, if you go to his county, there's only one law, the 2013 Supplementary Estimates, the Supplementary Appropriation Act. So how effective can we make your office to ensure that all the laws that are passed by the county assemblies are uploaded on the website such that they are laws within the laws of Kenya? Or does Kenya law treat the county legislation as inferior to the national legislations?
Not at all, Moderator.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank the County Attorneys Forum, because we have the County Assemblies Forum. We have had this conversation with them for us to be able to strengthen the legislative and legal framework for collaboration. We need to have documentation of this legal information. It is in this respect that we have developed new databases. The functionalities have been purposefully enhanced to incorporate specific autonomous county laws, including county bill trackers. And the question that you're asking as to why they are not there is because we are actually in that process of transition where we want each county to have an ownership of the materials and the laws that are reported. And then, as I said earlier, we can link those materials and those reports to national legislation, to case law, so that if you go to our site, and you'll not just be finding Makueni County legislation, you'll be linking it to PFMA, you'll be linking it to case laws and decisions that have been made, but that we can only do through a structured collaboration method. And we are hoping that even as county assemblies, I know finances are limited, but at least let's have that one platform that caters for the entire 47 counties, rather than just each county developing its own resources, its own platforms, which will be even much more expensive. So we look forward to more collaboration and coordination to strengthen the legal framework for you to be able to appropriately carry out your oversight functions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think the take-home lesson today is we strike a balance between the brick-and-mortar development and other forms of development. I think that's a key point. And for us as NCTC, at the county level, we have what we call the county engagement forums. We have what we call the county action plans. And I think this spirit needs to be infused into the county engagement forums. And I think we'll find a way of engaging the county assemblies so that they can assist us in driving the CVE agenda within that setup, because it brings together all the stakeholders within the county arena.
Thank you. Mheshimiwa Mbilu.
Thank you very much. The collaboration is important for the stakeholders in the devolution family, from the budget making process, CIDP, up to when the report of the Auditor General is considered at the County Assembly and recommendations are made. And I think I want to commend Control of Budget Office, the CRA, for honoring this invitation, are coming for these discussions, because I think they're very, very important for us. And how possible is it that then twice in a year we should be able to engage, have a conversation, review, and identify bottlenecks that would, rather than, if resolved, extend service delivery instead of running away from these institutions. Then very lastly is that it is important that we protect devolution, institutions and agents of devolution, particularly the role and the mandate of the county assembly. Makueni County government has a budget of 11 billion, with assembly having a 700 million budget allocation. It is important that we support county assembly, if Makueni is to go by, with the requisite resources to oversight the 7 billion. Otherwise, then the things that, and the statutory laws that you've quoted, Madam, control of budget, it will not be possible for county assembly to execute them, collaborating with TRA, COMP, SRC, Auditor General, and any other institution, including Kenya law, so that then we may move forward. For rapporteurs, please give us action points so that then the respective institutions, after this, they will get reports and we'll see how to have technical team to put these things together and make them a deliverable strategic matrix.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Koitamet.
Thank you very much. You know, there is one thing that we could have forgotten, but which affects everybody here. Last year, 47 counties were taken to court because of not legislating. Even this year, there could be a possibility that some of you will find yourself in court again if you have not passed your mother laws that you will amend through your finance bill. So I want you, we are, as CRA, we are supporting you, and all the 47 counties, I ask you to come at our door, and we will help you to make sure that you, together with the Kenya law reform, have your mother laws, which you will be amending through your finance bill. Because you have been amending your finance bill, and that's not the way to go. So that's something that I just wanted to make sure that you don't forget, so that at least don't fight with the executive when you are dealing with those laws. Mupigane kwa zile zingine, but your mother laws, you must have them. And then as CRA, I'm glad we've had a very good collaboration with the county assemblies. We will continue to do so. We will continue supporting devolution. As an equity commission, we will try to make sure that enough resources come to the counties to enable you to conduct your oversight role. Thank you.
Thank you. Daktari, your final remarks. And the heat of the moment has been these delays, that delays. And the controller has said,
yes,
if we get to June, then things may be better. But even in the interim, between now and June, she is human. Please give them hope that within 2 days after requisition, the requisition will either be returned or will be approved.
Well, that is exactly what we do.
Thank you.
Moderator. If we cannot approve for any reason, we give the feedback immediately. That we do. But I am reminded by what the CRA Vice Chair said about the laws. And right now, it is an offense not to spend 30% of your budget on development. That is now jurisprudence. Courtesy of, I think Bakweni was sued, and now it is law that the spending development must be 30%. So I hope you'll be monitoring, because that is the kind of oversight that the assemblies are supposed to do. And with us on the other side also oversighting. Now, my final words are these. I have no regrets about coming to this forum, because my understanding is a lot of the pain that we go through is because of not talking to each other to understand where the other party is coming from. And that's why I was very encouraged when I saw the invitation from CAF. I said, let me go there and clarify many of these misunderstandings. And you'll agree with me that when we walk out of this room, we'll be a lot better than when we came in.
Thank you.
Forgive me sometimes for behaving like the place where I come from. Our tempers are a little hot. But nonetheless.
And we thank God we didn't have a panga around here.
Exactly. I really appreciate the audience for the feedback that we have received from here. Please do not think I'm not listening. I'm keenly listening, and to the extent possible, I am going to implement the feedback that you have given me. Further to that, I believe you will send me a copy of the conference resolutions so that, again, we can follow through in implementing the change that we would like going forward.
Thank you.
So this is not a fight, by no means. Like I said, we are together in this. We are together in the oversight, and unless we pull in one direction, we cannot succeed. So I want to wish you the very best as you continue the conference. I'll be watching on TV, and I hope you'll also watch what people are saying from across the country about what you do. There were very interesting conversations on TV. And with those few remarks, please, again, should you wish to send me something, if you feel that there is a query you really wanted to raise and we didn't have enough time to resolve it, please feel free to write to me, and I will also send you a written response.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. An applause for all the presenters. So thank you, members of County Assembly, also for sitting all through here. You know, being one, I know how hard it is to keep politicians sitting for even an hour and concentrate. But I think this session must have been very enticing for you, and that is why you have sat all through, knowing it's also afternoon. I know our rapporteurs are taking note of the issues we have been able to scavenge through. There are a few issues we seem to be having some common understanding. I will read through them quickly as forming part of the resolutions, but at the end of the day, we will sift it. And I think we will have resolutions sent to all of you to try and see how best we can. So do we agree that moving forward, we can only do better when we cooperate as oversight institutions, that collaborations are the things that we can best do to manage expectations? My thing has gone off. Oh, no. I wasn't monitoring the... Anyway, Samisha, so looks like power has gone off, so unfortunately, I will not be able to read all of them, but at least I have a few that I have off the mark. The rapporteurs can take note, I will send the rest. So one is issues around collaboration, that we must, moving forward, collaborate, and I think both the CRA commissioner and the COB have intimated that we need to have more of these conversations moving forward, so that we don't wait for the end of the year to come and quarrel here, so we can have engagements along the way. That is one. Secondly is the issues of delayed releases. The COB has promised that first automation is on the way, but as we move forward, they will see how best they can improve the systems to ensure that releases are done in a timely manner. There was the recommendation that there needs to be strengthening much more of the county controller of budget offices at the county level, and the controller of budget has taken note of that and promised that those officers will be strengthened to streamline the issues as we move forward. Second is issues around resourcing of county assemblies to allow on issues of public participation and engagement. So that, I think, will more linger about the communication between CRA as an advisory role to both the Senate and the National Treasury in terms of issues around budgeting. So more resourcing to county assemblies to do with issues of oversight, so that at least they are able to undertake their mandates in a better way. We have captured on issues revolving around laws. There has been the recommendation of a structured collaboration between the Kenya law and the county assembly, so that whatever laws are uploaded on that system are laws that you own. Musija mukasema hii sio ile mulipitisha. So there needs also to be conversation between the office of the Kenya law and that of CAF and of individual assemblies, specifically the speakers and the clerks of the county assemblies, who are the people who keep the documentation of the county assembly legislations. We have agreed on issues around, unfortunately my computer went off, so I'm trying to go to the backup. We have agreed on issues revolving around reports of the controller of budget. She has talked about the difficulty of trying to compile these reports because of delay on your side. The delay of the county treasury to submit reports are your problem as county assembly members. So how can we ensure that the majority, if not all, county treasuries and the county assembly, accounting officers are able to submit the quarterly returns in good time, so that the controller of budget can prepare the report in a timely manner, and again, when those reports come to the county assemblies, prioritization be given to such reports, because they are very important and core to the oversight function of the county assemblies. What else have I forgotten? Hiyo mambo ya padia na ingine siwezi ingia. Yes? Yeah, statutory reductions, at least that has been clarified, that the salary is gross. So the rest of the issues, I think, are issues you can handle at the county level, because that is what the approvals are about. So I think the rest are in-house issues that can be. Yeah, that statutory deductions are actually remitted. So I think you have taken note of that. Yeah, what else have I forgotten? So the rest of the issues, I think we will send them back to you. Or they will be given as resolutions when we are closing the conference. Is it tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow. So I wish you all the best. It's been an excellent forum. I also feel back home. Nimerudi ile mali nilikuwa zamani, so the warmth is here. So, and I want to thank you all for having been cooperative. Asanteni sana na Mungu awabariki. Shukran.
Once again, thank you so much to the moderator, Dr. Nur Nasir Abdi. I think I'll allow you to take your seats. As I do so, let me also appreciate the presentation by FCP Dr. Margaret Nyakango, the Controller of Budget. Thank you so much for being here with us, Madam. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Commissioner Koitamet Olekina, the Vice Chairperson, Commission for Revenue Allocation.
Kibiogo R. Kigen, the Director, National Counterterrorism Center. Let me also thank Professor Jack Muimali, the CEO and Editor, National Council for Law Reporting, otherwise known as Kenya Law, the Honorable Douglas Mbilu, the Speaker of the County Assembly of Makueni, and last but not least, CPA Michael Bidi Ngala, Clerk of the Kilifi County Assembly. Tupigie makofi tafadhali. Asante. Na nyinyi pia tunasema asante sana. Muda umekwenda na sitaki kuwaweka zaidi kwa sababu kesho pia tuko na program nyingine. Tungependa tuwaondoe mpate kikombe cha chai kabla ya kuendelea. But in order to close today's event, let me invite the Secretary General, the Honorable Chege Maura, to briefly just come and tell us the expectations for tomorrow. Halafu tukamilishe kwa leo. Asante.
Thank you. Our good members, thank you for staying up to this time. Was the conversations for today fruitful? Mumefurahia? The plan, even tomorrow, all the plenums were made so that they fit that kind of description, so that whatever ails us in the counties, whatever we have a problem with in terms of devolution, we have people of substance to come and engage us in this regard. So asanteni sana for making it happen. Two issues before I get to tomorrow's conversation. I had the controller talk about our engagements with the CAF. Members of Budget Committee, we had a discussion around September last year with the chairs of budget and with the team from Control of Budget. And we have, you've heard also she mentioned that we're having a legal framework where we'll collaborate and hopefully have more members of budget committees, more members within the sectors around money to have more collaboration so that they understand the work that we are doing. Tuko sawa mpaka hapo? Yeah, so wale wanafikiria kazi yetu tu ni summit, ni michezo, we want to have bigger conversations with the implementing partners. We did have a conversation also with the CRA. The Vice Chair, Mheshimiwa Kina, also will attest to that. We've had a discussion with the current commissioners. And we also we've had conversations also with the Office of the Auditor General, with the PAC committees. So conversations are going and they are fruitful. What law reform? The law reform we actually had a very interesting proposal with the law reform. Can you imagine, I don't know who has been there since 2013 in your county assemblies, all the laws that we've been making, Kitui inafanya yao, Kwale inafanya yao, Garissa inafanya yao. So how do we have one central port that has all these laws that are being made in the counties and the county assemblies? That is the work we also want to do with the Kenya law reform so that we have a specific angle within the county assemblies that is a repository. Because after about 10 or 20 years, you can imagine the kind of backlog information. No one knows what you are doing in your county of Bungoma in terms of the laws that you've passed. It's only the people of Bungoma and the Assembly of Bungoma. But we need a central port, and that's the support we've been collaborating with the Kenya law reform to have that repository port at CAF so that at a click of a button, you're able to see whatever is happening in the counties. So asante sana, law reform pia for that. Chair Nu, maybe most of you don't know, nilisikia kiambiwa hapa, the idea about CAF, County Assemblies Forum, ilitoka kutoka huyu Mdos. I call him Mdos because he mentored us when we started in 2013. Yeye na Speaker Ekwe Othuro are the ones who thought the idea of bringing county assembly. The makers of the constitution had a COG in mind, but not an organized county assemblies in mind. So having to see him here, to see what the work is, alikuwa first term, the work that has gone on up to now, I think there is work that has been done. I hope umeona tumeshikilia. Asante sana. You saw my predecessor, Dr. Chepkoni Kipkurui, wa IGRTC, the former SG of CAF. So I just want to encourage members. Sometimes things don't go the way you want, but conversations and consultations are ongoing processes. Sometimes unapiga step mbili hapa inakosa kuenda vile unataka, but you keep on going. Imagine the work that they left in 2017. See, as those days, his summits tulikuwa tunapiga bomas. Hakuna kala, hakuna kila kitu hivi, shouting match, meeting inaisha in disarray. Yetu meeting kuisha in disarray. We still had a meeting. The resolutions from yesterday, I had a controller asking about the resolutions. All the resolutions from the pre-summits. Controller, you need to understand we've had a summit on the PWDs, a summit on the youth, a summit on the women, as special interest groups chapters, and then the main summit that started yesterday. So all those 6 days we'll have summit resolutions, which we will be having them ready tomorrow in our closing ceremony. Kesho, before the closing ceremony, we will have the plenum on your welfare, on the pensions. I don't know how many are second term, third term members from the county assemblies. You all have gotten gratuities. Ushai kula gratuity. How many are the first term members? Higher. So what we want to do, the proposal in the law is to collapse the gratuity into a pension. So the conversation around pension is as important to you as a conversation about salaries. Tunaelewana? Tomorrow we have SRC confirmed that they are here. We have lab fund. Most of our county assemblies are either in lab fund or lab trust, CPF. All those guys are going to have a representative here, including salaries and RBA, Retirement Benefit Authority. They'll do a presentation. And more importantly, a representative from Parliamentary Service Commission, so that we also exchange ideas from zile. You know, the benefits at that level ziko tofauti sana na zetu. So we're also trying to see how do we get the best out of this, even as we are crafting a pension scheme that fits members, so that we move from the issue ya gratuity ambayo unachukua unapeleka campaign, alafu mambo yako iendi mzuri, and then unazeeka umesota. So that conversation is as important as this one. Please tell your colleagues to come. I get sometimes dismayed when we want to throw the baby plus the bath water simply because one route imefungika. There are many other issues that we are following. The plenum that didn't take off yesterday afternoon on oversight, and we had Dr. Gadhangu also, and the team at the guys, Dr. Mutaha Kangu was here, the guys who started this devolution process, they were all ready to go. So with your concurrence, we want to see if tomorrow we can create an hour or so that plenum is not lost. Iko sawa? Iko sawa? I know the controller will be happy because ananiambianga, make sure money is not lost. Make sure money is spent for what it was supposed to do. Now, let me touch on the issue nimesikia. You know, sometimes tunakuwaga sisi ni watu wa misinformation. The controller ameuliza, somebody asked about CASA sports. Sindio? Akasema number of days zilishukishwa, that kind of a thing. Sindio? Article 228, which gives the mandate to the controller. Look at 5. I don't know if my guys can get it. Article 2285 says that good. Indio, the mandate that gives the controller. 5 says the controller shall not approve any withdrawal from public funds unless satisfied that the withdrawal was authorized by law. Now, the problem controller had raised initially was that she thought that tunafunga assembly, si wote tuende michezo. And she didn't think that was a prudent way of using resources. So the conversation she had with the officials from CASA and CAF was that, can I understand who's playing? Ikiekwa siku, whatever ziliekwa. Can I understand who's participating but not playing? Siku zikapunguzwa. Am I right, controller? Tumeelewana? So that if you want us to beam that letter that we asked for, sisi tulikuwa nataka maximum days ya kila mtu. Tumeelewana? But now when it comes to the controller using this power, anasema, I am not satisfied. So what she was satisfied, can we separate the ones playing and the ones just participating? Wakati tulikubaliana na hiyo, then we asked assemblies to do the same. Tumeelewana? So hakuna kitu ati sijui kafi ilienda ikasema upunguziwe. If ukipunguziwa hizo siku, they are not given to us. Tumeelewana? Unajua sometimes stories za huko nyuma haziwagi zile za ukweli. So we want to be clear. Ni kama jana nilisikia wengine wakisema president amenilipa ndio asikuje. He cannot pay me not to come. He would pay me to come. Because this is our event and I have given him the whole of Kenya here in one room. Akona Turukana, Tukwale, Tumoyale, to Nairobi. All members in one room. Yeye ndio anataka kura watu. Mimi nataka Yangara peke yake. So if members give us mukipeana story pia, please appreciate that a lot of work is done to ensure that we get caliber people who come and have a conversation. Hatukuwaita kuwasomesha, tuliwaita you have these conversations so that you understand how to engage with the controller, how to engage with the auditor general, how to engage with the commission, so that how to engage with Senate and National Assembly. So that even them, we cannot just go to their offices, they can also come to our event. Tumeelewana? So tomorrow come prepared, we'll have very good 2 panels, the panel on oversight and the panel for pensions. And the pensions one is very important for you, and I've told you who's going to be there. Finally, we'll do a closing ceremony. We're still hopeful whoever national government will send to come to the closing ceremony. If again they do not send somebody, it's our forum. Let's close our forum, let's give the resolutions, and let's go on preparing ourselves. Huwezi ita mtu birthday yako na uforce lazima akuje. Akikuja, fine. But asipokuja, you continue na bado unakata cake na una blow candles na life inaendelea. We meet you next time. Ama? If, and I have told Citizen TV today, please ensure to show that the conference continued. So that isikae that when the president kulikuwa na scaffold that they collapsed of the summit. That was not the point. There are many conversations you've benefited from having this team here. There are many issues you're going to benefit tomorrow when you have the plenum on pensions. And the pension is not mine, it's for all of us. Yeah, so let's benefit from these kinds of conversations to help our work easier, to help devolution. The issue on financial autonomy, the controller has been in support of, so that we move away from the governors when we want our money straight. CRA has been in support. Senate has passed the law, finished with it, it's in the National Assembly. So tuende tusukume huko, wamalize, hopefully as early as next financial year, tukuwe tuna deal directly na controller. Tumeelewana? With that, I thank you so much. I hope tomorrow we are here on time, 8 o'clock, so that we can save the other plenum, and so that by 11 we are doing the closing ceremony. By the time we are doing lunch, everyone has finished. God bless you all. Asanteni sana.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Chege Mwaura. Two announcements. I have lost and found a pair of glasses or spectacles. Kama ni zako, sawa. Kama ni za mwingine, tutazipeana. And then there is somebody who left a bag at the World Vision stand. Please go and get it before they leave. Finally, can I ask all of you to be upstanding? Tafadhali asante. And let me ask the team, the sign language team, to come and help us. Please, I want you to sign a prayer for us. Tafadhali. I don't know where your colleague is. On behalf of persons with disabilities, Tafadhali, we want us to sign. Where is he? Anaitwa nani? Okay. Aye. Tufunge macho ama tufungue macho. Tumuone akisign.
Na tuombe. Our Father and our Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the good discussions we have had. We thank you for the resolutions that we have agreed. We thank you for everything and for your protection during this day, Lord. We pray that as we go home, you'd protect us and you'd help us to arrive tomorrow for another fruitful discussion. It is in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Asante. Thank you so much. God bless you. See you tomorrow. Asanteni sana.